Fights and story are the same thing by Almost Cheesecake.
JJK Season 3 completed. Animation, 10 out of 10. Story,
Facts.
0 out of 10.
Okay, they rage baiting. I'm not, see, I stay pausing. I gotta slow down on the pause button. I can't let every bit of bait get me. We're 3 seconds in, that's a good video hook, but I'm not letting it bait me.
Overall, 5 out of 10. Fights, 10 out of 10.
Is that an actual tweet that someone gave though? Yep. Animation 10 out of 10. Story 0 out of 10. That's the problem with Twitter, bro. People are more incentivized to just bait for engagement as opposed to reviewing stuff in good faith.
0 out of 10. Overall, 5 out of 10.
I like the editing on this though.
Fights, 10 out of 10. Story,
Facts
2
for the
out of
most
10.
part. 2 out of 10 is crazy, bro. I feel like the minimum, the barest minimum, if you're really, really reviewing JJK in good faith for what it's trying to do, the lowest I could see giving it season 3, and I'm talking about the lowest, like if you're just the most pretentious, artsy fartsy dude of all time, the lowest I could see you dropping it is 4 to 5. That's like the barest of minimum. If you just hate battle shonen and the tropes are just not your bag, the lowest I could see you going is 4. Because I do think there are some aspects that are, and I put objectively in quotes because nothing is objectively good, but I do think there are some aspects that are just across the board good.
Fights, 10 out of 10. Story, 3 out of 10.
3
Fights,
still kind of crazy.
Story, animation, hype, aura, characters, diff, writing, fights, story, writing, fights, story, writing, fights,
Okay,
story, writing.
I'm liking this script.
It's all a bloody same, isn't it? Higuruma is an antagonist from season 3.
Okay, we jumping right into it. So I'm thinking they're going to get into, I mean, the Higuruma episode is probably the best example of this video's thesis that, you know what I mean? The fights in the story go hand in hand.
JJK Kaisen. If I had to describe him as quickly as possible, he is this jaded and apathetic lawyer turned sorcerer who is responsible for killing at least 20 people.
At least 20. How many points did he have? Wasn't bro was approaching the hundreds, I want to say, wasn't he? Yeah, no, that boy Ishigori was a mass murderer, bro. He he killed scores of people. I think, like, now that my boy Almost Cheesecake is pointing it out, I'm really peeping it. But I don't think I gave enough credit to the fact that he really was out there, like, catching bodies, bro. Bodies of a bunch of people who I said Shiguruma. My fault, bro. I still got Shigaraki on the brain. Yeah, he was catching bodies out there, bro. Y'all don't know about Shiguruma? Oh, y'all didn't get the exclusive episode. Yeah, y'all don't know about Shiguruma. Okay, that's fine.
He even has this ominous line, "Have you ever killed someone who ticked you off? It feels much better than I expected."
Did he say
You look at
that?
this guy sitting in a bathtub with his clothes on, and your first thought is probably, oh my god, he's so hot when he's...
Okay, bro. Am I tweaking? Like, pause. Okay, just pause in advance, right? Because we're about to attractiveness scale grown men. But you know what? We got to do it. I don't think Higuruma all that, bruh. I'm not gonna hold you. I don't think Higuruma's all that. Personally, like, if I went that way, I'm more of a Nanami guy myself, you know? I feel like Nanami takes every good aspect of what people glaze Higuruma for and just do it better. He just does it better. I feel like he's more locked in. Like, I feel like Nanami probably more about his, Higuruma definitely gets more paper, huh? I don't know. Do Japanese lawyers be getting paid like that? Cause Nanami was working at like an investment firm, right? I think Nanami might get more paper. I think Nanami dresses better. I think Nanami, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just a very good looking fellow. Higuruma, it's like, I don't know, man. I feel like he just gets like, season 3 JJK anime glaze. You pause the video because see, this is the problem. Yes, I paused the video to attractiveness scale. I'm engaging with the video. Bro said Higuruma's hot. I said I'm not into to grown men who wear their clothes in the bathtub.
And then your second thought is, damn, there is something
I do like the editing
wrong
though.
with this guy. I
A
wonder
lot.
how he ended up so jaded and apathetic. Well, back in the day, Higuruma was a defense attorney that took on really hard cases, not because he particularly wants to save people, but because he wishes to uphold justice, to not close his eyes in the face of injustice.
Which, again, not to keep pausing, but I did like that aspect of Higuruma's story. I did like the way they built up his character. They did the beginning part. Even as I'm watching him like scroll back through the scenes, like the office scenes and all that shit, it's just reminding me of how well that episode was made.
Eyes in the face of injustice. However, with these impossible cases in a society with an overwhelming amount of guilty verdicts,
99.9%.
never looking away meant staring into the eyes of every person he had failed. Time after time, trial after trial, guilty verdict after guilty verdict.
And that wore down at him.
Emotions, the cursed energy just building up inside.
Oh, is that what happened? Is that what happened? Was Higuruma low-key flowing cursed energy because he was salty about all the cases he lost? I had always just read it as, the culling game happened and he just, was chosen. He just was chosen to get tough. But I guess that would make sense, right? Cursed energy, negative emotions. Negative emotions are probably greatly associated with a job like Higuruma's. Essentially, I don't know if he's a public defender. Is he? I don't know. But being a defender that takes on cases that he knows he's not about to win, I'm not going to lie. And this is no hate to my boy Higuruma, but let's keep it a stack right now. You over here trying to flex, take crazy cases. This is why this is why you have heart problems. This is why you're always angry. And this is why you went crazy and went into a bathtub with a full 2-piece suit on. Didn't he awaken before the culling games? I'm not entirely sure. I thought, maybe I misread this or, miswatched, but I thought the culling games starting was almost simultaneous with this scene that we're looking at right here. Or did he just lock in, open up his domain, and then he went into the culling games knowing cursed energy a little bit already? Either way, they were probably lined up pretty closely.
Him over and over and over and over until
He smoked
Higuruma
ass.
has broken down, closed his eyes.
I like
and given
the
up on
soundtrack he
humanity.
chose too. The rock
But
and
that's
roll.
enough of the boring 0 out of 10 backstory.
And God damn, look at this boy's leg. But like, this is what I'm talking about, bro. If you're genuinely approaching season 3 in good faith and engaging with the media that you're watching, at the very least, I think Higuruma's episode and backstory can be recognized as good. Even apart from JJK, even if you cut out that, like, Higuruma's backstory, if you cut it right when the JJK bullshit started, the domain, him summoning his Shikigami, like when all the cursed energy shonen shit started, cut it right there. You just go from meeting Higuruma to him going crazy. That first, 15 minutes of the episode. And you package it as like a short film and ship it. Maybe with a solid conclusion, obviously, because we did cut off the end. But if you put that part out there, that's good on its own. And so I don't see how anyone dropping 0 out of 10s on Twitter can really do that in good faith.
Let's go back to the fights. Higuruma can summon a courtroom with his domain expansion, which
Also, his domain was
forces
crazy.
opponents
I love
into
that
a
shit.
Trial. Judgment, his Shikigami familiar, will accuse his opponent of a crime. Something like,
gotta defend
you stole
yourself.
someone's pen back in high school, or where were you on January 6, 2021? During this trial, Judgment will give one piece of evidence to Higuruma. You don't know what that evidence proves or disproves. You just have to decide whether to stay silent.
Again, absolute. I still love how they gave the absolute dumbest nigga in the show the most mentally intensive domain to deal with. And honestly, he's not even that dumb. You got to be kind of smart to be a sorcerer for JJK to even work. But it's still funny as fuck that they gave this shit to Yuji and he basically sold his own bag.
Confess or deny. If you're pronounced innocent, yippee! You get released from the domain expansion. However, if you're pronounced guilty, judgment will seal your curse technique.
Damn, that boy manga Higuruma got the sniffer on him, boy. That nigga got a aquiline nose. That nigga got a beak on him.
And you are basically forced to fight without superpowers. Good luck with that. So when Yuji asks for a retrial during their fight, Judgment accuses him of mass murder in Shibuya on October 31st.
He's like, yeah, I did that shit.
You know, the Shibuya incident when that one girl unzipped Nanami's pants and I mean, when Sukuna turned Shibuya into a crater? Yuji, overwhelmed by the guilt of letting Sukuna take over his body, confesses to the crime and Judgment gives him the death penalty.
I read, and I don't know how y'all read this, right? I don't know how y'all read this scene, but I've read an interpretation of this particular Judgment scene where they're saying that Judgment cried these tears of blood because it was sad that, yo, why is Judgment's gum so big? But I've read somewhere that Judgment cried these tears of blood because it knew that Yuji basically making himself guilty was unjust, quote unquote. But like the rules of the domain dictated that it still went forward and, you know what I mean, they still had to go through with the trial.
Granting Higuruma an executioner's sword that can kill.
Also, this fucking sword was broken, bro. A one-tap sword? How is that fair, bro? That's dead ass smoking almost anybody in this whole show.
Anyone with just one cut. However, Higuruma.
Do we ever get to see
why
that sword do anything?
Well, the evidence that Higuruma received from Judgment revealed to him the
Don't spoil
existence
that,
of
actually.
Sukuna, the one that took over Yuji and committed the mass murder. This jaded and apathetic man who has given up on humanity sees a young boy shoulder a crime he did not commit.
Okay.
And for the first time in a while, is forced to open his eyes again.
So far, I see that, you know, the creator of this video is building up the story part of JJK very well, right? We're going a lot into the narrative elements. I mean, sort of recapping it, you know, telling us what happened. But the title of the video was Fights and Story Are the Same Thing. I'm interested to see. Let me go ahead and drop that like because this shit is flames. I love the editing. I'm interested to see how he tries to. One, I'm interested to see how he tries to tie it together in this particular case. I think I know the angle he might take, but I'm also curious if that he tries to make this a broader statement about, you know what I mean, storytelling in general, battle shonen in general, or if this is just, you know, he's just focusing on JJK season 3 and this instance.
In a world full of injustice, why did this boy confess to something he didn't do? Why did he admit guilt knowing that it would put him at a disadvantage in this fight? Why is Higuruma lost in the darkness of his own mind, now being blinded by this shining individual standing before him?
I didn't even peep that. That's a good peep out. That's a good peep out. Like if you look at the footage, right?
Shining individual.
He's literally being blinded, bro. That dude was squinting. That boy Yuji was glistening too hard for him.
Standing before
and Yuji had that big ass spotlight in the background, you know, low key blinding the nigga, but still, I didn't peep that symbolism there. Good peep.
Higuruma deactivates the executioner's sword, gets taken down by Yuji.
Now that I see that shit, Yuji definitely could have stopped the punch. Yuji, okay, he sees him take away the executioner's sword. He sees him take away the sword, acknowledges it, acknowledges that the sword is gone, and then locks back in. and still finishes all the way through with that swing to the stomach. And Higuruma knew that shit was coming too. Look at him closing his eyes, bracing for it.
Gets taken down by Yuji and decides to help him, having once again opened his eyes and decided to stare into the abyss of justice.
Okay, and then they had their conversation.
He asks again.
Yo, the reveal that Yuji shit was a fucking double hoodie all along had me sick, bro. I know he's out here sweating.
Have you ever killed someone of your own volition? Yuji answers, I have. In which Higuruma responds with, it felt absolutely awful, didn't it?
Okay, that crazy part is though, I don't think Yuji has ever killed maliciously of his own volition. You know what I mean? He'll kill, all of his kills have been more or less that I can think of righteous or not him at all, Sukuna. I'm led to believe that boy Higuruma was having a crash moment and was just like, oh yeah, you who just got your cursed technique and has the ability to summon inhalers out of nowhere. Yeah, come get this executioner sword, nigga. And like, honestly, I don't even know if he was popping domain on niggas or if he was just hammering niggas with that gavel, bro. Because at least in his domain, you get the chance to, argue. You get the chance to argue your case, bro. But he was also strong as hell with the fisticuffs. So I'm led to believe he was just going around with a gavel, crunching niggas' dome, skeleton, skull fragments into their frontal cortex. And so, like, again, the more I think about it, Higuruma was, I don't want to say he was a bad person, but at the very least, he was tweaking.
We have just seen a character arc happen right before our eyes.
In one episode.
Higuruma had lost
two
faith
episodes.
in humanity due to his time as a lawyer, closing his eyes to injustice and allowing himself to be swallowed up by his own sorrow. Only after meeting Yuji, someone who is also overwhelmed by sorrow,
yeah,
but
they were
still
great
pushing
foils for
forward
each other.
Despite it, did
Great foils
Higuruma
for each
start
other.
to open his eyes again and realize how much he had strayed from his original ideals? An entire story told during a fight.
Okay. Most of the story was told during the fight. This shit clean as hell. I forgot how well made this season was. Wow. But I would say most of the story was told through the fight. They did do a great job building up with that first episode where, you know what I mean, we got the background.
Fight that is 10 out of 10, but with a 0 out of 10 story. Maki Zenin has been abused and mistreated her.
We're going to get to Maki in a second. But yeah, I think with JJK in particular, right? Because there's some shonen battle shonen as a genre tells its story through the fights, right? The climaxes of arcs in battle shonen are told through fights, right? It's like a philosophical battle, one side of a philosophy, another side of a philosophy, both of them clash head on, and whoever has the stronger side, ideally, or whoever the author thinks has the stronger side, or whoever the author wants to win is going to win that clash of ideals, right? I've always found I understand separating story and animation. I do. Because there are some stories that have been greatly elevated by the animation quality. I mean, just look at JJK, right? But separating fights and story is just dumb on multiple accounts. One, the fights are part of the story, especially in battle shonen. All right? Unless you're talking about Solo Leveling, which just uses its story as an excuse to get to fights, separating fights and story is stupid because the fights are a part of the story, and likewise, the story is told through the fights. So again, saying 0 out of 10 story, 10 out of 10 fights, you're already contradicting yourself. That's like eating a meal, right? You say, yeah, this meal, 0 out of 10 meal, but the side was a 10 out of 10. Those fries were kicking. You're rage baiting for Twitter. Be for real. But yeah, cheesecake. Let's yap about Maki.
Due to the fact that she is one,
what do y'all have?
And 2, a non-sorcerer.
That boy put sushi for women. Probably just did it for the color. I do like the editing a lot. Where do y'all place the Maki arc or the Maki episode? Above or beneath the Higuruma?
And 2, a non-sorcerer, unable to use cursed energy like her peers. So after her twin sister Mai sacrifices herself to grant Maki a new body, she proceeds to obliterate the Zenin clan. What a girl boss. And through this fight, we get to see how much Maki was looked down upon by her entire family. When she was first defeated by her father Ogi, who was planning to kill his 2 children, he monologues about the fact that while he was equal to his brother in strength and whatnot, the reason his brother was
no one bought this, by the way, right? Like we're all agreeing that this nigga was coping. Nah, bro, I swear I was cold, bro. I swear I was cold as my brother. It was your fault that I ain't get the head. All right, bro. All right, bro.
Family over him was because of how disappointing his offspring was, disparaging Maki for underestimating him just because she broke.
Do we even know what his ability actually
plays on a different field to
her? I like the little wiggle he has with the manga animation. Good shit.
Trying to gauge me by the standards of such a failure is absolutely ridiculous. The leader of the Kukuru, the Zenin clan's army of small fry, after
who the fuck was that?
The Zenin clan's army of small fry.
They be letting anyone in the clan at this point. I'm not gonna lie, this nigga must have run into Mahito, bruh. This nigga looked like a Mahito victim. I remember Mahito would put his hand on people's domes and stretch their skulls out. This nigga looked like a victim of being touched by Mahito.
After hearing of Maki killing Ogi, assumed that he was taken off guard, as if he was attacked in his sleep or on the toilet, underestimating Maki by telling his goons to—
Damn, hold on. I don't mean to pause it over dumb shit again, but why was that toilet so advanced? What the— Yo. This can't be a real toilet, bruh. That nigga got airplane controls on his toilet. Golly.
Toilet, underestimating Maki by telling his goons to try and capture her alive so that he can take the glory of killing her. Jinichi, an elite Zenin sorcerer, after seeing Maki decimate everyone before him, decides to also underestimate her by walking slowly towards
I've read certain reads on this scene that Unk knew he was gonna die, and he was reluctantly walking into the fade. I think I like that reading a little bit better, because there's no way he saw Maki doing what she was doing for the past however long she had been doing it, and still thought to himself, yeah, no, I got this. Easy work. You know, I'm gonna just walk in. Regardless of the fact that old eyes dude over here was helping him out.
While Ranta is barely able to hold her down. Funny enough, this was changed from what happened in the manga.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So what happened in the manga? Don't mind me. It looks like he runs in. It looks like he runs right in.
But it just paints an even funnier
Grab that boy Domski.
Still failing
threw it in the river.
The threat that Maki had become, and just deciding to aura farm for no reason. Naoya, the world's most popular misogynist, refuses to—
Whoa, is he up on the popularity polls? Okay, obviously, what popularity poll was this, bro? This had to have been before the Potential Man meme dropped. I'm sorry. This has to be an old poll, bruh. He's 6th on the poll. I do know Japan really likes Naoya for some reason. Every now and then I'll get random Japanese videos on like my YouTube home screen, and they love editing Naoya's face on the random characters. That's like a meme over there. Megami, Yuji, Gojo, of course. I guess it's supposed to be Kenjaku, not Geto. We fuck with now. I'm not gonna lie. Buster Call 25 seconds on the one above it all. Okay, interesting. Yeah, this has to be kind of old. Or is this end of series? No, because Yuji has his scars. Yuji has his scars, so that might be end of series. Wow. Interesting.
Refuses to acknowledge that Maki is now on Toji's level, one of the most powerful combatants that once took down Satoru Gojo.
I'm not gonna lie, does Toji have veneers? I think that nigga has veneers, bro. He got them. I just signed a Atlantic record deal rapper teeth, bro. That's why he was always gambling, bro. He had to pay back them veneers he bought. Makes sense. He even got a little scar when he was getting the surgery. I see.
Took down Satoru Gojo, declaring that only he deserved to stand among the two greats, only to be, just like everyone else, defeated by Maki. Later on, stabbed by a woman in the back. Some poetic irony, as Naoya had once
that was
said,
Maki's mom, wasn't it?
A woman who can't walk
or no.
paces
Was
behind
it?
a man should be
tweaking.
stabbed in the back. An entire clan of sexist,
evil-ass eugenics clan.
elites obliterated overnight because they cannot fathom that the idea of a female, a non-sorcerer, could ever harm them, let alone defeat them.
And she smoked them all.
Once again, a story of years of prejudice and abuse, all falling victim to their own hubris, told during a fight scene. A well-written fight tells a story.
I agree with about 85 to 90% of what Gang is saying. The one place where I would kind of diverge on that assertion he just made right there is that I think, broadly speaking, especially in a series like JJK, a fight tells a story, but I think in JJK in particular, fights tend to cap off stories or almost like recap them, right? Like you look at, he talked about, I'm blanking, Higuruma. He talked about Higuruma. He talked about Maki. Both of those fights were structured in a way where it's like, okay, we have sort of an exposition lore sort of build up into the fight. Most of the heavy lifting of the story is done, most of the heavy lifting of the story is done in sort of an expositional manner, right? And the thing that was great about season 3 was that the exposition was done so let's keep it a sack. Over the top. They didn't have to go that hard. And I don't mean over the top in a bad way. I mean over the top in they outdid themselves. We get exposition going into the fight, which builds up the stakes for the fight. And then the fight simultaneously embodies and concludes what we learned in the exposition. And so I wouldn't say fights and story are one and the same in the case of JJK. In the case of most Battle Shonen, I mean, you really can't put much exposition in a fight without having your characters yap at each other, and no one wants to see that. But I will say those two in Battle Shonen in particular are interlinked to an inseparable degree. So yeah, I agree with the majority of what bro is saying. It does not make sense
to separate the two, to rate the fight a 10 out of 10 and the story a 0.
I think you can separate the two. But I don't think it's, and I keep saying good faith, right? I don't think it's in good faith to separate the two and have them be this distant. Yeah, 10 out of 10, 0 out of 10. Nah, that doesn't make any sense. The two are so interlinked that, like, if we're doing a 10-point scale, personally, I'm a 0 to 5 star type nigga myself. But if we're doing a 10-point scale, story and fights, like, at best, can be like plus or minus 3 points. You know what I mean? Like Solo Leveling. I always got to bring up Solo Leveling because it's probably the most pronounced example. Solo Leveling. I would say it probably has 4 or 5 tier story, especially towards season 2. and then the fights are like 8 or 9 tier. And so, you know, and that's you know, I broke my own rule there, right? I did plus 4 points. But that's an exception. That's an exception. That's a not so great story being adapted and elevated. But if you get to a point where like where you're saying anything is 10 out of 10, where you're saying, oh yeah, the fights are 10 out of 10, then you're implicitly, at least somewhat, praising the story. Unless you're literally just going in with like Solo Leveling brain and saying, oh yeah, I like the way them characters move on the screen. That tickle my frontal lobe. Then it's like, okay. But again, we're you know, the whole argument is kind of based off Twitter discourse, where it's more important to get people growling at you than, you know, actually make your point. So I don't expect logic from Twitter users anyway.
Out of 10 when a battle shonen tells its story through the fights. Are you actually? Ishigori is unfulfilled.
Oh shit,
400
we're
years
doing this
ago,
one?
He lived
Okay.
a moderate life. He fought some tough guys, met a nice girl, and died without regrets. Or so you would believe.
That
Ishigori
nigga just greedy.
was hungry. Ishigori was unsatisfied. Ishigori lived for the fight. And
Okay,
his
so I
lust for
actually think 𝙏𝙖 and Ishigori are probably the most, like, unlike the Higuruma and Maki aspects or fights, their stories were told almost entirely through their fights, right? And it was done through a lot of this, you know, a lot of exposition, talking back and forth with Yuta. And I actually think because of that, it's their overall arcs. And, you know, they are still side characters, right? But I do think because of that, their overall arcs are slightly weaker. You know what I mean? Because the fight did carry heavily. And, you know, they told the story through the fight. But again, there was a lot of, it kind of was carried by, you know, yap and exposition. Of course, it was a beautiful fight, you know, decent story. But I do think these are the weakest because they didn't do that typical JJK formula or that JJK season 3 formula of take some time for exposition, do it real well, have the fight cap it off.
battle was unsatiated. Which brings us to today. It's honestly a pretty simple story. Ishigori wants to have an all-out fight with a strong opponent and meets Yuta. They're throwing hands, unleashing techniques,
Throwing
cursed
backs.
energy blast versus cursed energy blast.
Or
Even
throwing
starts to
fucking
get to the
trains
point
at
of
each
seeing
other and shit.
Yuta seemingly run out of cursed energy, likening it to seeing a high-end dessert shop with empty displays at the end of the day. He makes this comparison a lot, his past life being the main course and his current one, the dessert that he is passionately pursuing. He is hungry for a fight so sweet,
greed.
so decadent, one that can fill the hole inside him. Oh yeah, he's also one big dick joke. His cannon pompadour going flaccid whenever he shoots out too much. His dialogue about
I ain't even peeped. I ain't even peeped that. What the hell?
how he had no idea there was even more after wringing everything out.
When did that boy watching JJK 2? I don't remember those words. Hold on. Was that in the manga? After the last drop? Is that... Did he say that in the anime? After the last drop is kind of crazy.
The euphoric way he says, deserter, after discovering that Yuta could still keep going
That boy
after
moaned in my ear.
climaxing with the freeway domain expansion they had with Uro. It's just so funny, but it works so well the way he seduces Yuta to go all out on him, who originally just wanted to shoot prematurely. And this is why the fight is so good. The opening, hitting once their cursed energy blasts clash, the absolute beatdown as they just start wailing on each other, technique after technique, tactic after tactic. Ishigori, after being defeated by Yuta, smiles at him. Yuta smiles back. gives a friendly little wave.
And he
as if
passes
to
out.
Say,
I would slightly disagree here. I would say this fight wasn't, it was cool, but I'd say this is like one of the examples where I think the fight was so good because it looks so good. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Ishigori's backstory was, and honestly felt like, I get it, but it just felt like typical shonen smoke demon shit. You know what I mean? How many times have we seen the trope of the dude who just wants his one all out fight? If only I had someone to go all out with. You know what I mean? The story wasn't overly compelling to me, but the reason that fight did stick with me was because of the way it looked.
this entire fight was nothing but a little favor. And with that, Ishigori is finally full.
And he can die happy.
This is a shonen battle.
I
These are the
surmise.
stories Jujutsu Kaisen wants to tell. I don't really care if you don't like JJK. I have my own complaints about the series. But whenever I
As do
see
I.
someone rate the fight a 10 out of 10 and the story a 0 out of 10, then I just think you have failed to understand what makes that fight a 10 out of 10. It's not just the flashy colors.
I think a surprising amount of people really do just see flashy colors and good movement. And I've realized there's a good amount of people who can't really articulate why they like the things that they like. And so I think that's how you end up with fights 2,000 out of 10. Story negative 300 out of 10.
Animation definitely helps. A well-written fight tells a story. And my god, did Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3 have some amazing stories.
It did. It had two amazing stories, Higuruma and Maki, in my opinion.